styling text-related properties. Those are very simple. You can change the colors, the font size, the font family, the font weight, and the text decoration, and so on. I think the best way, as I explained last time, the best way to learn this is through W3C School, W3C School CSS. It will be the first one that will come. You go there, and you choose any particular skill you want to learn about. Let's say, for example, CSS colors. And all you do, you will get some small description of that particular CSS feature. And then the nice thing here, you will have try me. And you get an online editor. And here you can start basically playing with the colors and playing with the idea. So in here it is using an inline style just because of demonstration, but in real life you will not do this. In here you can play with different colors as an example. There are some colors that are built-in, constants that you can just use, but there are other colors that have codes and so on. So what I want to say here is this is one of the best ways to really learn those properties, because as I mentioned in this course, we will not be able to go through all, of course. If we are lucky to cover the 20%, we'll be still lucky. And particularly in the lecture, I will focus more on the concepts and with some examples, but not too deep. In the lab, you will practice this more. But this is just a nice resource to really practice at least the basics of CSS. Okay, so moving forward, so you can style the text. This is super easy. The second thing you can style, and very common people style, is the lists, unordered lists and ordered lists. So one way to do it super quickly, let us just jump here. By the way, let me close this one. By the way, I have found how to link the CSS, the WebStorm with the Chrome. So you can change in Chrome and you have a live edit. So you can see them side by side. So for learning, they are this is really good. So let me first super quickly create, let's just do an example together so we know what's going on here. This is a list style. Okay. And I'll create here an ordered list. And basically, in this unordered list, I have a list item. I have, for example, College of Engineering, and another list item, CAS. For example, another list item, Medicine. Okay, so if I want nicely to see the output of this one, what I can do, I can go to Files, Settings, and one of the options here under Build, Execution, and Deployment, there is this Live Edit. You go ahead and tick this box, update the application in Chrome as you type, and you need to install this JetBrains IDE support. It's a Chrome plugin. Once you do that, then what you do is you right-click on the page, and then you say debug. Then it will open it in Chrome. You just change this here, put them side by side so you can see here, and you can start here changing things, and you can see it live changing. Yeah, this is very useful for learning. Okay, so this is the style. This is the normal style that comes with that comes out of the box from the browser. This is the default behavior. This is how Chrome developers implemented list items. They put this filled circle as bullet points. Now, if you don't like this one, you want to style it differently, you can do so. So let us just create here a class. I will just call it a list item style. List style, for example. And then, just because of demonstration, I will be putting the styles in the same page, but as I explained, it should be outside. So this is how I create This is how I create a class, a named style to style this list. All I do is a list style type. And here, I don't want to have this filled circle. I want to have it as I want to have it as a circle. You see here, you get this circle, empty circle. It's another style. Or I can have it as a square. See here, you get a square. Or you can have none. And they all disappear. You get the idea, yes? Now, if it is an ordered list, so the default behave, if there is no styling whatsoever, the default behave you will get 1, 2, 3. Come on. Anyway, the default behavior you will get 1, 2, 3. You can change this style if you wish to something else, none, for example, or you can do upper Roman. So you get this style, or you do a lower Roman, or you can do alpha, lower alpha, so it will be ABC, or upper alpha ABC. You can see here, you can change the style of the list by simply using list style type. Now, if you don't like what is built in and you want to use a little image, you can do that if you wish. So what I can do here, I can say here list style image. And then I'll do URL. I have an image under image tag. I have something rocket, a rocket image. And basically, my bullet point will be this rocket image. And this rocket image is just an image under my image subfolder. Yeah, so there are many ways you can style it, but this is the basic idea. Is clear how to style? Now, I want to take this to another level. And basically what I want to do here, I want to go back to an unordered list. And I want to make these, I want to make a menu. You can see this is a little bit buggy, the integration between Chrome, and sometimes I have to, sometimes I have to refresh. Okay, so no problem. So what I want to say here, this is an unordered list. Yes, I want to make a menu, a horizontal menu. Very common in web applications, you have horizontal menu. By the way, horizontal menus, in most cases, in 99% of cases, people create them using an unordered list. So what will be the list items in this case when I'm creating a menu? The menu items. The menu items will be the list items. So let's put here some menu items. To create a menu, the first thing I do, I create an unordered list, and my list items are the menu items of my horizontal menu. Now what I want to do, I want to style this menu to make it horizontal. Yeah? So what I will do, I put back this style here, class. So what do you think? What should I do first for me to start styling this, to make it a horizontal menu? Yes, so maybe many of you are already familiar with that in HTML we have two types of elements. We have block elements and we have inline elements. So those of you not familiar with this, let me just quickly introduce this, and then we will make use of it to style this menu. Okay, first of all, let me just create here a header one. This is a menu, for example. Okay, now H1 as an element, as an HTML element, is it a block element or is it an inline element? It's a block element. So I explain what a block element is. You see here when I okay, let me.
It's double row.
Yeah, it should. Yes, let me just. Yes, you see here it took the whole row and it didn't allow any other elements beside it. It kicked out all other elements to the next line. That's what is the behavior of the block line, the block element. Block element, it occupies the whole line, all the space, all the vertical space available, sorry, all the horizontal space available, and it doesn't allow any other element beside it. Is clear? Now, let me show you what an inline element is. So here is an inline element. For example, I have here an image. I put here the source. I'll put here image/rocket. And here I'll put another tag here, let's say span. And I will say this is a rocket. Yeah. Now, when I select image, can you see image? Is it an inline element or a block element? Inline. Why is it inline? It's just occupying the space it needs. Is it kicking out all the elements beside it to the next line? No. It is tolerating other elements to come near, to be beside it. Yes? Same thing for span. Is a span an inline or a block? Inline. So basically in HTML, out of the box, some elements are block elements, some elements are inline elements. Yes? Now, the list item. Can you see here the list item? Is it a block element or an inline element? It is a block. Why is it a block? It's occupying the whole horizontal space and it's not allowing the other list item to be beside it. Now, if I want to make it horizontal, the menu, I don't want it to be vertical menu. I want it to be horizontal menu. What should I do? Basically, I go to this line list item and I change its display property from block to inline. Then everything will become in one line. Yeah. So here it is. So what I will do here, I will say here display, and I will say here inline. Now first what I will do here, list item li. You can see here what I did here. I will say I will grab all the elements that has this class list style, and the children of that element. In this case, the element in the page that has the class list style is the UL, this UL here. And what I'm doing here, I'm grabbing the li children of this element. I'm grabbing all this li, and what I'm doing to them, changing the display from block to inline. Why did I change the display from block to inline? To make it horizontally instead of the default behave, which is vertical one after the other. Should we use tables? Tables are enemies of web designers. Don't use tables. Never use tables. Only use tables if you really have a table. You know the table that we know. If you have some paper, it has a table, and you want to translate it, there is a better way of doing it. But if you really want to, you can use table. But never use table for layout, positioning, or styling. No. The reason why is because the tables are not responsive. I will explain what this means later on. So tables are not good. Yes, yes. Because these days, we access our web pages from different devices with different screen sizes, and we want our page to be responsive. Yeah. Since I'm just jumping on this, just because we mentioned it, I just want for those of you not. I'm sure you have seen this, but just in case you are not familiar with this concept of responsive web design, I will explain it shortly.
For the MyPB, Blackboard was making it responsive.
Yes. Very good. Yes, you're right. Yes. So let me just show you. I have many examples. I will show you one small one. Just to get you an example. You see here, when I do this, it shows me two. When I change the size, it shows me only one. This is a responsive design. If you design this layout using tables, you are stuck. When you resize, you have to use pinch and zoom in your mobile to see the whole page. But with responsive design, when you resize, the element take different layouts, the page takes a different layout and adapts to the size of the browser. We will see this in more details. This is just a glimpse why you should not use tables.
Because we use Bootstrap for this?
No. Bootstrap, we also trying to divorce it slowly. We will only use Bootstrap for maybe some classes that are already pre-built, just because maybe we are a little bit lazy. But for layouts, Bootstrap is gone. We have to use something called Grid or Flexbox. This is the latest way of doing it. It's new to me also. I have been learning it. I have stayed the whole night learning about it. It's new, but it's fascinating. It's amazing what you can do with the Grid. Better than Bootstrap or any other. And by the way, if there is something built in the browser, some feature built in CSS, HTML, JavaScript, use it first. Before you only go to another package or library if what is built in is not enough and maybe harder to do or takes a long time to do. But if it is there, you should use the built-in features. You should not depend on other libraries unnecessarily. This is very important. Yes? So the Grid has learned so much from all other frameworks that do responsive design, but they have it now built in CSS. It's a new feature from 2017 and above, and all the browsers have already adopted it. Anyway, that is just between parentheses. We are not there yet. So please don't use tables unnecessarily. Only tables is only to present tabular data. And even for tabular data, there is much better way of doing it using grids. And you can make your tables responsive. I think we can also just throw away tables. You will see. I will show you what this means. Okay, but definitely not for never tables for designing the outline or the layout of the page. Never use tables. Use CSS and use the grid features of CSS. Is clear? Okay, so let me just rerun this guy. Sorry, not this one. Let me just resize this. Okay, so far is good, but it's a little bit squishy here. We wish to have more spaces, so I can just add padding, which I will explain shortly. Sorry, just add in here. I will make it, let's say, 10 pixels padding. Make it a little bit. Maybe I want too much. This is good. Yeah, that's it. This is already getting a really menu. Although it was initially what? It is a list item. It is a list. It's an unordered list. And with styling, you can see it's already changing. It became a menu. And this is very poor out-of-the-box menu. You can make it a little bit better with very small efforts. So let me show you some little tricks. So here, I will explain it shortly. When somebody hovers over, put their mouse over this, all I will do, I will put here text decoration, or I can change the color, yes. Text decoration. Line above line. You can see here, already very nice, yes? When I put my cursor above the link, it gives me some visual clue that I am selecting the right thing. I can do, for example, also the background color. The more we give users some feedback when they do something, they feel more comfortable. They are selecting the right thing. If they just put the mouse before this little trick, it was not very kind of more friendly or more, but it didn't provide as better user experience as now. And I can change this one to light yellow. You can see here when I put the cursor, I'm starting to style this. Yeah, this is already a good enough menu. Yeah, with very, very simple styling. All I did, I changed the list item display to inline, put some padding, and then did a little bit of this is a selector. I am asking, please go ahead and select all select all the anchors or the links, and only when their state, only apply this style when the state of the link is hover over. When the mouse is over it, apply this style. When the mouse is outside the link, not hovering over the link, leave the style, the default style. Okay. What else I want to do? Okay, now if I have another link outside my menu, let's say here is a link here. This is QU, and this is href equals www.qu.edu.qa. Of course, I have to put HTTP, something like this. You see here, now it gets also this one. I want this behave to be exclusively for the menu. I don't want it to be for all links on the page. How do I do this? I want this behave to be exclusively for the menu. No, IDs, we should, that's another thing you should kind of learn and forget. You have inline styles, IDs, tables, be aware of them, but try not to use them.
Just use the previous one. Instead of LI, just use a.
Give them a class.
No,
I can use class.
The previous one. Instead of LI, just use a column to
No, one way to work, I can just say only the ones that are within the LI. You see here? It's no longer. Yes. I can say here only the links that are, I can be even more specific. I can be say only the links of the parents that have this class, and there are LI, and you see here, I am even more specific. So what I mean, you remember the selector is very advanced. There are many ways to select elements. We only seen, of course, so far we've seen some basic ones. Selecting by tag, selecting by class, selecting. Here we are getting a little bit more sophisticated. In here, there is a hierarchy. Here I'm telling the browser, go to the element that has this class, then go to the LIs of that element, then go to the A's of that element. So I am getting more and more specific. Now, this link here, does it has a parent that has a class list that has a class list style? It doesn't, so it doesn't qualify. So it doesn't get the style. Another one that I did here, this is called a pseudo class, or pseudo class, yes, pseudo class, and this one is basically a state. This is more specific for links and also sometimes for checkboxes, for example. In here, I am applying the style only when the link is in this state, the state of hover over. Otherwise, I'm not applying the style. You get the idea. If I want to apply the style permanently, I remove this, and then this style is permanent. But I don't want it to be permanent in all states. I only want this style in specific state, which is in this case, hover over. So you see here, the selectors are very sophisticated, and we will discover more of them as we move forward. Yes, is this clear? So we have covered already a couple of things, how to style a list, to have different bullet points styling, how to remove the bullet points altogether and make it horizontal and make a menu out of it, and how to style this menu. And also we've seen other selectors beyond classes and selecting by tags. Is this clear so far? Okay, the next thing, of course, there is more details and more examples. I will leave it to you to explore. I provided here so many other examples of different styles that hopefully you can discover on your own. But the basics I already covered. Okay, so now what I want to discuss now is another very important concept in CSS is the box model. The box model. So what is the idea here is that every tag in HTML is a box. Every tag is a box. In fact, have a look at this. So if I go here, if I select this guy, let me just bring the browser here. Let me close this, guys, and just click this one. You see here, there is already, when I select this, there is a box around this element. Every element is a box. So have a look. When I select this line item, it's a box. Yeah? So every element on the page is what? Is a box. What you can do with the box, you can style the box. If you have a box, what can you do with the box? You can put a border around it. Yeah? So let us put a border. Let us go to, you see this H1. You see this H1 here. I want to put a border around it because it is a box. It's inviting me to style it. So here is one, H1, and I will say here border. This is how I put a box, by putting a border. A border style. I want a solid box around it. So here is a solid box. A solid box around that element. And I don't like the built-in color, which is the black. I want it to be, let's say, blue. So I will do here border color, sorry, border. I will make it, let's say this color, blue. Okay? And it is too thick, too thin. I want it to make it, the border, much like thicker. So I will go ahead and say here, I will say here border width, and I'll make it 10 pixels. See here, the border became much thicker. Now, this is how I style the actual border. All right, now the shortcut to do this is to do border. Then the style is basically a solid style. I want it to be, let's say, tomato, and I want it to be 10 pixels. Okay, so this is a shortcut. Instead of doing it in these 3 lines, I can do it in 1 line, where I specify the style of the border, the color of the border, and the thickness of the border. If I don't want solid, I can make it dotted or dashed, and so on. Yeah, but let's keep it solid for now. Is clear? The first thing you can do with the box, you can put a border. Now you can see here the distance between the border and the text is a bit too squishy. I want more space between the text and the border. How do I control the space between the text and the border? Here is the concept. You see here now that we have to understand the concept of a box. So the distance between the text and the border is what? Is the padding. The margin is something outside the box. Outside the border. So here is the concept. Here is the concept of the box, how it is implemented in browsers. So here is my content. The distance between the border and the content is called padding. And the distance outside between other elements and the border is called the margin. This is basically the margin. Okay, so if I want to control the inside, so I can say here padding, I can control the bottom, the top, the right, the left. Let's just give you an example here. The border bottom, 10 points. You can see here, let me just increase it so you can see the difference. See, this is the bottom. The padding has been increased. I can do that for the top. I can control any direction, top, bottom, right, left. Or if I want all of them to have padding in all around the text, I can just put padding. It puts 30 pixels around the whole thing. Now the margin, if I want more space between the next element and my box, I can use, what I will use? Margin bottom, and I will say I want it to be 50 pixels. Let me increase it, so just to see the difference clearly. You can see here the distance has increased. I'll make it a little bit bigger even to see the difference clearly. Yes? Now and you can control, you can see for the padding, you can control either side by itself, or you can control all the margins from all sides. So if I remove this dash bottom, so it will put, maybe let me just make it just 40. So it puts a margin around each side, top, right, bottom, and left. Now, if I want the vertical margin different than the horizontal one, what I can do here, I can see here the top and the bottom is 40, but the left and the right, I can make it, let's say, 10. Yeah? So you see here, that the way it works, it's a clockwise. So the top will get 40, the left side will get 10, then the bottom will get 40, and then, sorry, the right side will get 10, and then the bottom will get 40, and then the left side will get 10. Yeah, so it's clockwise. Is clear? The concept of a box model. So in CSS, if you want to control the border, the padding, and the margin, you can do so by simply using these three properties: border, padding, and margin. And by the way, you can control all of them at once, like the top, the right, the bottom, and the left, or you can control one at a time. The box model is clear, the CSS box model is clear, and this is how you style it. Okay, yes, please.
For the margin, it's clockwise, starting from which position? From the top?
Yeah, always for the padding and the margin is clockwise, always starting from the top. Yeah. So for example, margin here, if I want here 30, but on the sides I want less, I just want 5. You see here? So okay, let me just make it. Let me just increase this one. Nope. So basically it is clockwise. So 30 is between the border and the text, and we have 10 from the left and 10 from the right. It's just because this one is close to here, it pushes.
If you don't want to alter the size, do you like 0?
Sorry?
If you don't want to change the size, you can start with like 30, 0, and then...
Yes, you can. Like for example, you always go clockwise from top. So here, top 30, 10, and this one, no, basically this is the left. So top left is 0. The bottom I want to make it 20, and the left I want to make it 5. Yeah? So this is 30, 0, 20, and 5. Yeah, you can be explicit if you wish. Yes, please.
For example, if I, in another tag, I change the padding.
Yes.
Okay. For example, I make it 40.
Yes.
Is it going to add 40 to 30? Or that's
No,
override?
this is very good point. Box model, the styling of the box model does not get inherited. So if I have, let me make this a div. Just try it. I'm not sure if it will work. Div. Okay. Now this is a div, yes. And basically within here, I'll put an h2 test. This guy sometimes does not refresh. Yeah, you can see here I am putting a border around the div, but the children do not inherit the border attribute, the border styling. H2 is a child. Yeah, have a look at this. Have a look. If I change the color here, color green, will H2 will be green? Yes, of course. The color is inherited from the parent. Who is the parent of this H2? The div. So the color is inherited. Are the border properties and the box model properties, when you style them at the parent, do the children inherit them? No, those are not inherited. Every element, every box, you have to style it on its own. Or you can create a class and apply it whenever you want to box something. So this is a good point. Like this, the box styling are not inherited by the children. Is clear? Okay, let's move on now. The next major and very exciting feature of CSS, this is very new and very important, is if I have a page, how do I position elements on the page? This used to be very, very hard. And that's why some frameworks like Bootstrap and others try to help us to do it. But now, CSS people, the people behind CSS, CSS is a standard. So people from major browsers and experts in CSS, they get together, or some of them, they suggest some feature and they discuss it and they say, oh, this is very good, let's try to prototype it. They will vote, and once they agree, it becomes a standard, and then the browser will pick up that standard and implement it. And then us as developers, we pick up that new feature and start using it. So the latest important feature that was added to CSS is CSS Grid. And it really changed the whole way of doing layouts. Outside, built in on the browser without any other framework. So let me explain the concept of a grid. So first of all, a grid is a two-dimensional structure, similar to a table. But what's the difference between the grid and the table? Responsive, and the table is not responsive. So in the grid, we have two dimensions. What are these two dimensions? We have columns and we have rows. We have horizontally columns, and vertically we have rows. Now, when we want to use grids, what we do is first we define a grid, and then we place elements in the grid. So we first create a grid, and then we define elements in the grid. Yes? So I think it's easier if I start diving into this, and inshallah next time I can go deeper. Now I just introduce the idea through some simple examples. So here is the HTML. This one is just explanation what a grid is. So with the example you have the explanation. So here is my grid. So what I have here, I have how many divs? 6 divs. Yep. And I put them in a container. What is the name, what is the class associated with this container, with this div? I call it, this is very common. The class name is container. And then basically for every div, I style every div. Can you see here? I make the background of the div green, yellow. The border radius, see, if you want to get that little curve, you just say border dash radius. Font size 150%, which means the normal font size, I increase it 150%. Another way of doing it, I want to do 1.5 the normal font size. This is the normal font size, and I will make it 1.5 times bigger. And the padding is 20 pixels. So far it's clear? This is simple. What I have here, I have a couple of divs. And I'm styling them. I made them a boxes. I changed the background color. That's all I did. Now, you can see here they are occupying the whole place. I wish if I make them as kind of a table. Without using a table, I want to make them kind of a table. Let's say how many you think we can fit in one line?
As much as you. Let's make 3.
Maybe 3 or 4, yes? We can fit 3 or 4. So one way to do it is tables, but we're not going to use tables because we are doing layouts. So what I will do here, all I do, I go to the container, and I'll say here, display grid. Yep. So this didn't do anything. There will be no change whatsoever, no change. But what I will do, I will say the grid, I want this grid to have, let's say, 3 columns. Template columns. This is the template of the columns. I want every column to be 30%, the other column to be 30%, and the other one to be 30%. You can see here, we'll put some distance between them. Grid gap, 10 pixels. And here is the grid gap, 10 pixels, okay? Now, another better way of doing this is this one will have 1 fraction, the other one fraction, the other one is 1 fraction, and basically it's exactly the same. I leave the browser to compute how much each one will get, yeah? Now you see when I expand this one, the size will be dynamic. The size is dynamic based on the available space. In the container, I can do text align center. Yeah, you can see the text is aligned center. If I make it smaller, I'll get only one element at a time. So it is responsive and dynamic. The size, how many columns per row is dynamic based on the available space. This is yet another example, and I will stop here. It's another example. You can see here, when I have a lot of space, I get how many columns per row? 4. When I have small space, one column per row. If I have a little bit more, I get 2, 3. It's really dynamic. It's really responsive. Can you see here? Based on the screen size. All this is achieved using the grid. I will show you all the techniques to do so. So this is the introduction. We will play with it a little bit on the lab, and next week we will go into more details about it. Okay?